I'm trying to figure out what leverage we actually have. What leverage do we have? They control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. It's their government.
Yeah.
What leverage do we have?
I know.
Oh, come on.
So look, I want to dispel the notion.
Anna Kasparian is having a full-blown meltdown because the party she's devoted herself to has gone completely off the woke deep end. And she's finally waking up to just how corrupt it's become. It's kind of like being in a toxic relationship. You know it's over, but you hang on a little bit longer, hoping something might change until reality finally smacks you in the face. This could be that moment for Anna and maybe even for Cenk. Let's jump into the video.
There is no real leadership in the Democratic Party. Why the Democratic Party has a super low approval rating among their own base, I would venture to say this very story is behind the issues that voters are having with the Democratic Party, because they're looking for leadership, they're looking for representation, and what they're really getting is a bunch of politicians who are legally bribed by the very same Wall Street donors that legally bribed the Republican Party.
Yeah, so look, mixed feelings on it in this way. Like, of course, I get it. Democrats need money to fight back against Trump. Trump's raising a lot of money. All these corporate guys are now, kissing his ring, to put it politely, etc. On the other hand, why do you think that the Democrats, when they were in charge, didn't do anything about private equity buying up residential homes? That's in our populist plank at TYT.com, and it's got over 80% approval in the country in terms of don't let them buy our homes. They're gonna rob us blind and we're all gonna be renters and serving them for the rest of our lives. Oh, look at that, all the private equity guys that are donating to the Democratic leader. And look, mainstream media ignores this giant iceberg that we've now, not that we're gonna hit, that we've already hit and the ship is sinking, as the Democrats say, there was nothing we could do, there was nothing we could do, right? And this great quote, what leverage do we have? But that's the same thing they said when they were in charge. And they're like, but we only have the House, the Senate, and the White House, and on the other side is a parliamentarian.
I'm trying to figure out what leverage we actually have. What leverage do we have? They control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. It's their government.
Yeah.
What leverage do we have?
I know.
Oh, come on.
So look, I want to dispel the notion that the Democratic Party needs this money to fight Trump. That's complete and utter BS. In the last election, Democrats had way more campaign cash than Trump did. And they failed miserably. You wanna know why? Because the interests of the donors are counter to the interests of the Democratic voters. It's that simple. So that money comes with strings attached. And those strings, the voters want nothing to do with those strings. You get what I'm saying?
Of course, Hillary also significantly outraised Donald Trump, and she also lost. And by the way, there's another mistake that they make that's not related to this story, which is, but what are you raising the money for? To buy ads in media? How about you just go into media, into the content instead of the ads, and do your talking yourself? Oh no, I can't. I only have corporate talking points fed to me by the donors, so I don't know how to talk to humans. Well, then that's a double problem that the donors are creating.
Well, they're not, by the way, Cenk, I mean, the Democratic Party, or at least the politicians within the Democratic Party, are still operating in this 1990s era of scripted talking points.
It's actually refreshing to see Anna and Cenk finally calling out the Democrat Party and their corporate overlords. The ones who slap rainbow flags and Black Lives Matter stickers on their windows while selling out the people behind closed doors. Credit where it's due. It's good to see a left-wing channel like the Young Turks giving their own side a much-needed dose of reality. But here's the problem. The hardcore base, they don't care. They're too far gone, trapped in their echo chamber, and they like it that way. The real question now is, are Anna and Cenk bold enough to leave the Democrat plantation? Because over here on the right, good ideas are actually welcomed, not silenced.
I mean, the Democratic Party, or at least the politicians within the Democratic Party, are still operating in this 1990s era of scripted talking points. You are a robot. You do not think for yourself. You have the predetermined, pre-approved talking points that you just regurgitate. sitting down and having a casual political discussion with a podcast host, for instance, is not something that most Democratic politicians are capable of doing. There are exceptions. Hakeem Jeffries is not part of that exception.
Look, let me just make it, and I feel bad doing this because it's Rogan, it's not one of us on the left, etc. But it is such a simple rule. It's called the Rogan rule. If you can't sit down and talk to Rogan, you shouldn't be running for any office, okay? Because it's not like the brother's gonna grill you, right? He's very friendly to his guests.
Yes.
And he might ask you a couple of questions that are a little bit challenging. If you can't handle that, you just can't handle being in the race. I don't give a goddamn how much money you raised. If you can't have a human conversation, you shouldn't run.
Yeah.
These are not complicated things to figure out.
So let's talk a little bit about the donors themselves and where Hakeem Jeffries is raising this money from. So we'll start with Henry Laufer, who is the vice president of a hedge fund called Renaissance Technologies. Renaissance has been scrutinized by the IRS over its use of basket options. And no, that is not a fun Easter thing. It's a controversial trading strategy that regulators said allowed the firm to avoid billions of dollars in taxes. So Laufer and his wife, by the way, just gave over $600,000 to Jeffries in total. Then there's Stephen Ratner. You might have heard of him. He serves as the chairman of an investment firm known as Willett Advisors. So Ratner previously settled a case with the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, over allegations that he paid kickbacks to win investments from New York's pension fund, paying $6.2 million in penalties. So these are really, stand-up American citizens. He also donated $100,000 to Jeffries, and the list goes on. But for the sake of time, we'll end with Robert Goodman of Bessemer Ventures Partners. So Bessemer Venture Partners belongs to a venture capital trade association, the NVCA, that continues to lobby lawmakers against closing the so-called carried interest tax loophole. And he donated just shy of $63,000 to Jeffries. But not all of Jeffries' donors were from the finance industry or financial industry. He also got $44,000 from Mehdi Al-Hassani, who is a manager over at Palantir Technologies.
Yeah, it sounds good. Oh, is that Mehdi Hassan? No, one of the Palantir guys.
Yes.
Very different guy. I want to first do this super chat because it's so on point. Michael Cotavelli wrote in, Jeffrey said he'll support incumbents over primary challengers. And I'm going to explain why and how it relates to the story in a second. He said, where was he when AIPAC went after Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman and other progressives? It's a good question. Look, he did light support where he's like, oh yeah, Cori and Jamal exist, yeah, right? Did you pour in $4 million to match AIPAC's $4 million? No, you didn't, did you, right? Out of your great Jeffries Victory Fund, right? And I say the same thing to James Carville. We'll talk about him a little bit later in the show. But he's like, this David Hogg guy, I can't believe it. He got to support the incumbents. Oh, James, were you out there like with pom-poms on for Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman? You weren't, were you? So the incumbent thing is total BS. What they're saying is you must support the corporate Democrats.
Right.
And that's how it relates to this story. If they're not taking money from questionable private equity guys, then no, okay? But you take money from people like that, excellent, Jeffries Victory Fund. Victory for who, brother?
Anna and Cenk, when are you finally going to get sick of the Democrats selling you out? The door is open. You don't have to agree with everything, but you should come over to the right side. Most people on the right actually welcome good ideas, good debates, open dialogue, and most importantly, sincerity. If you're willing to bring that, you'll find a lot more respect over here than ever will with the woke corporate left. If you enjoyed watching Anna tear into the Democrats and want to see more content like this, make sure to like the video, drop a comment. Do you think Republicans would accept Anna and Cenk if they made the switch? Or do you think they're just stuck where they are? Either way, subscribe for more.